Hello, everybody, and happy Friday. It is day number 5 of 10 days to your metamorphosis or my metamorphosis. It is a 10-day journey to kind of walk you through some of the events that encouraged me to write my new book, Y'all see it's turned upside down. Metamorphosis. All right, guys. Hello to everybody, and welcome. Happy Friday. For you, those of you that I do not know, I am T. Renee Smith. I am a certified business and life coach. I help women to build profitable businesses, rekindle the fire in their marriage, all while raising extraordinary kids and not losing themselves. For everybody that is new, please say hello. Or if you're watching live, I always like to know who's on live with me. So, guys, thank you so much again for everybody that's been giving positive feedback, support, and encouragement on the release of my second book, which is my personal memoir, Metamorphosis. So we're doing this 10-day journey just to give you a little bit of background and insight on why I wrote the book. So yesterday was all about marriage, and I just shared some personal stories of trials and tribulations and triumph that I experienced. Hey, Simone, how are you? That I experienced in my marriage well after that honeymoon stage was over. And as we talked about yesterday, family and marriage is at the root of success. So today is all about our kids. And guys, when I tell you that being a mom is thank you, Simone, congrats. When I tell you that being a mom is near and dear to my heart, I love my kids. And it is probably the most difficult job that there is, right? I mean, building a business, yes, that requires work. But honey, being a parent and being able to decipher and understand what's going on in your with your children, that's like a magician trying to pull out which technique or which method is going to work with the kids. So I have 3 kids. I have a 24-year-old daughter. I have an 8-year-old son, and I have a 4-year-old son. My daughter is, I don't like to say my bonus child because I feel like I've given birth to her in the spirit, but my husband was divorced, and when we met, our daughter was 14. Hey, Demetrius, how are you? And she lived with us. So after my husband and I got married, we both raised her. And when I tell you the hormones and just the becoming a woman, it is real. It is real in the field, as my husband says. You know, raising kid is not for the faint at heart. So I just wanted to share with you a couple of the lessons that I have learned about motherhood. And it's so funny because whether I'm having conversations with friends or business colleagues or clients, figuring out kids come here different these days. When I grew up, it was kids should be seen and not heard. Right? It was you do so because I say so. It was whatever, happens in the family, it stays in the family, right? So when we grew up, we weren't exposed to all this social media and everything else. So we just responded differently. These days, I have all my kids are strong-willed. They are strong-willed. And mostly today when I talk, it'll be about my younger 2 because my daughter is, she's out of the house and living her life and doing well. But the 2 boys are in the house, 8 and 4. When I tell you these kids, the both of them came here strong-willed. They know what they want, when they want, how they want it. Like some people have kids that are very kind of laid back, very submissive. They're going to kind of go along. Not my kids. I remember when I was pregnant, I was praying to God. I said, I want my boys to be leaders. I want them to be strong. And that's exactly what I got. But what I really meant was like when they 18 and they grown and they out the house, I want them to be leaders. No. They came out the womb telling me what it is that they want. So the parenting techniques that I had, in my bag, my little tricks in my bag, they didn't work with them. I remember when my son was young, my oldest son was young, I had told him to do something. And he asked me why. And I said, because I said so. He said, well, mommy, why do you say so? And, I was like, eh. But what I understood about my child is that he's very, very analytical. And so he wasn't trying to be disrespectful when he asked why. It just didn't make sense to what I was asking him to do. So once I explained what I wanted him to do, he happily did it. So I'm just going to be very transparent and honest and lay it out on the table because y'all know that's what I do. I actually had to learn. I had to basically say what I'm doing as a mother, it is not working. I see myself yelling, screaming, getting frustrated more with my kids, and I am not connecting. And so when I was talking to my girlfriends about kind of what was going on with their situations, they were having the same issues that I were having because apparently their kids are strong-willed too. I remember when I walked, this was years back in my son's preschool class. Now all the kids are just sitting down in a circle, you know, listening to the teacher. Child, my son is off on the side playing, doing whatever he wants to do. He just was not interested. And so at this time they were learning sight words and the teacher was, you know, showing the flashcards and all this kind of stuff. My child was so not interested. So what I had to do is I had to start researching and say, okay, let me figure out how my son learns. And what I came to find out that he's a visual learner. And when I started researching, I started to understand that boys, especially black boys, they learn differently than girls do. And this is generalization, not saying that every child does, but a lot of boys, they learn differently. So they need to be engaged. They need to visually see things. They need to be involved. So sitting down and doing worksheets and flashcards, that is not working. So that started my journey of really understanding how boys learn. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips today that I have learned that are strategies that have really helped me. And one thing that I did was I started reading and I started researching. And one of the books that I read that I want to share with you, if you have boys, it's called Promise Kept. Bringing Black Boys to Succeed in School and Life. And the book is by Joy Brewster. And what I found in doing my research and talking with a lot of moms of black boys, oftentimes boys are just very energetic and they have high energy, and a lot of them are getting, you know, diagnosed with ADHD and autism and all other kind of diagnoses. And not saying that every diagnosis is not appropriate, because of course sometimes it is, but you have to look at your child and really start to delve in and to understand their learning style. And so that sent me on a quest of being able to find the right school for my boys, because they were both very energetic, very active. And if any of you all have energetic and active boys, it can become very disheartening if they're in a classroom or if they're in a setting that does not congratulate that does not understand that, does not develop their curriculum or tailor their curriculum to that. So the reason why I share this is because over the last few years, just in talking to women, I find so many of them that have been discouraged. A couple of months ago, I was at a client's office. It was a medical practice, a family medical practice, and I was talking to the front desk receptionist, and I was just checking in and asking her how her boys were doing. And she told me that one of her boys, he was 8 years old, and the school wanted to keep him back. They were saying that he's in a classroom, I think of maybe 35 kids, and at the end of the school year, he ended up failing. And she was talking to her son, and he basically said, it's not that I don't know the material. It's just that, you know, I'm really not interested. The teacher doesn't, you know, pay attention to me because it's so many kids in the class. And so I realized that I really didn't want to lose my boys. And so I had to start this journey of learning. And so one thing that I want to say today is, regardless if you have boys or girls, make sure that you understand how they learn, and then make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, it is for their learning style. So going back to the example with my son, he wasn't learning the sight words and stuff with a flashcard. So what I did was I got him DVDs that had music and songs and all kinds of stuff, and that's how he learned. So his sight words, his ABCs, his numbers, his letters, starting to read, all of that he learned first from a DVD because he's a visual learner, and then he was able to apply that into the classroom. So know your child's learning style, and then make sure that you're giving them what they need. The second thing that I want to tell you, and it's another book that I read, is called Authentic Parenting Power. And this book right here, it's amazing, because what it actually tells you is that the way that you parent and the way that you get triggered by your children oftentimes has a lot to do with who you are, how you were raised, and unresolved issues that you have. So I know one trigger for my son is when he asks me 500 questions. If I ask him to do something and he asks me 500 questions, but what is that? It's me. I'm a coach, and that's what I do. I ask 500 questions, and my son is like a mirror of me. So oftentimes those things that he says, that he does, that sets me off, it really is just a trigger for me about something that I need to deal with or some unresolved issue. So a lot of times the response that we're getting from our children is based on how we're parenting. I'm going to give you a quick example. I was talking to one of my clients, and she was having issues with her son at school as far as with stealing. And so we kind of talked through the process because she was just at her wit's end. And when we went through and we talked about it, and she ended up talking to her son, it wasn't stealing because he wanted to steal. It was because he got attention. So his mom is building a business. She had just recently gotten divorced. So a lot of the time that she normally would spend with her son, she was having to spend on her business. And he said the reason why he was doing it was because when he got in trouble, he got attention from her. So once you understand the child's reasoning for the behavior, a lot of times we will go and we will see a behavior of the child and we just immediately start disciplining them. But we have to understand the reason behind why they're acting like they are acting. So that's my second tip, guys. I'm just going to give 2 tips because I don't want to, go on too long. But number 1 is to really learn how your child learns, and then make sure that they're in an environment that's conducive to that learning. And if not, make sure that you supplement. Okay. And then number 2, your child, they are they are a thinking individual. So you have to raise them up to be unique, not a mini version of yourself where you're living vicariously through them. I mean, let's just say your dad, your son, you wanted to play NFL football or you wanted to play basketball, you didn't get a chance to. So now you're forcing your child to do that, and that's not something that he wants to do. I remember when my son was on the basketball team, it was a dad that was at every game. And when I tell you he was training his son for the NBA, the only problem was the little boy didn't want to play basketball. So develop your children to be unique, to be individual, to be special, not to raise them how you want them to, be raised. And then just understand whatever your child's behavior is, there is some reason behind it, whether it's good or whether it's bad. One thing that I started doing with my boys is every night when we go to bed, I'll say affirmations over them, and they'll say affirmations over their life, and we'll pray, and I'll talk to my sons and I'll check in with them. How was your day? What was good? What was bad? What didn't you like? Etc. Because if you ask your son how was their day or their daughter how that day was, they'll be like, okay. So I started asking questions to get information. I was like, well, what was one thing that you did today where you're proud of yourself? What was one thing that you did today that you learned, so that I can start having conversations with them. And another thing that I do is I'll ask my oldest son, I'll say, how would you relate our relationship on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest? And then he'll rate it. Last time I asked him, he was like, Mom, it's a 5. I said, it's a 5? He said, yeah. I said, well, what can we do to get it to a 10? He was like, well, if you let my friends spend the night over more, if you let me, go to Zaxby's more. So I wasn't really talking about those things, but at least it gets him talking and us, discussing how our relationship is. Okay, guys. So, hey, Terry. Hey, Chuck. Hey, Demetrius. How are you? I'm so sorry that I went over today, but I really just kind of wanted to share my heart with you about parenting. I actually just started taking a certification class on parenting. It's called Breakthrough Parenting, because with my kids, I want to raise them up to be independent thinkers, to be self-validated, where they're not looking externally for self-validation, where they're emotionally intelligent and hold and all these other things. And so I needed some additional skills to learn. So believe me, honey, I do not know it all. I do not profess to know it all. I'm taking, what I do know and expanding it. So the relationship with your kids is so very important. So don't have it to be an afterthought. Just like you plan for your business, you plan for your career, you want to plan for your marriage, and you want to plan to grow your relationship with your kids, because it doesn't start when they're 21 or 25. It starts right now with them being in your house. So guys, please make comments below and let me know what do you do to build up your child's self-esteem, to increase the emotional connection with your children, because this is all about sharing. So thank you so much for joining me on this 10-day journey. And today was all about increasing that emotional connection with your kids, understanding, the behaviors, or understanding the reasons behind their behaviors, and really just loving on them. So I do talk about this more in my book, Metamorphosis, How I Shed the Life That Others Wanted from Me and Learned to Live My Authentic Life. So if you've not gotten your copy, make sure that you get it at Amazon or treneesmith.com/books. Guys, I hope that you have an amazing, 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 amazing weekend. If these videos are helping you, please make sure that you put in the comments below that they are. And if you receive value from them, please make sure that you share them. So remember, there is greatness on the inside of you. And when you walk in your purpose and you let your light shine, you give others the permission to do the same. So humbly, I'm signing off. I'm T. Renee Smith, business and life coach, helping women to build a profitable business, raise extraordinary kids, rekindle the fire in their marriage, all without losing themselves and their values, or staying true to themselves and to their values. Bye-bye, guys. Have a great weekend.